para sa kanya.
Liposuction. Perspective has the power to shift reality, to make you see the same moment in an entirely different light, and sometimes that shift comes like a tidal wave. Last June, my world tilted. After finally deciding to get myself checked for the excessive bleeding I could no longer ignore, I was diagnosed with well differentiated endometrioid carcinoma, endometrial cancer. The words felt heavy, sinking into the silence. I remember my tears falling faster than I could stop them. In the car, silence screamed between me and my husband as he sat behind the wheel, utterly speechless. One hand gripped the steering wheel, the other rested over my heart. There was nothing left to say. I told only two people, my site directors. That was all I could manage. The rest of the world went on and stayed frozen in denial. Days blurred into weeks. During the 20 days I was on medical leave, I unraveled. I cried until my body ached. I buried myself in research, reading every article, every study, every TikTok and Facebook post I could find on endometrial cancer. Joined every endometrial support group. I uploaded my biopsy results to ChatGPT again and again, as if somehow one of those times the diagnosis would change, as if a different evaluation could undo it all. But the truth never wavered. My OB gently urged me to consult an OB oncologist, but it took a full month and countless quiet conversation with my husband before I gave in. I still remember walking into that clinic, the waiting room, the nameplate on a doctor's door that read OB oncologist. Reality crept in like a shadow because an oncologist meant I have cancer. It was the hardest truth to swallow. While she explained the diagnosis, I broke down in her office, shattered. I cried for not paying attention sooner, for brushing off my heavy bleeding, for ignoring my missed periods, for neglecting my PCOS. I tried because the only thing louder than the fear was the guilt. Guilt for not listening to my body. Guilt for normalizing the pain, the bleeding, the chaos inside me. Guilt for putting everything in everyone else first. Work, obligation, distractions, and leaving myself last. Guilt for thinking I was busy to be sick. Guilt from thinking I would snatch my daughter of her future plans for us. Guilt for waiting until it was too late to pretend nothing was wrong. But somewhere in the storm of blame and fear, something shifted. Maybe it was the quiet strength in my husband's eyes. The same eyes that had stayed up late at night searching articles, forums, and medical journals about endometrial cancer, trying to understand what I was too scared to face. Maybe it was a doctor's calm voice explaining my options. Maybe it was simply survival. A spark buried under the weight of it all, refusing to be extinguished. And I have to admit, I am not a deeply religious person, but in those moments of fear and despair, I found myself calling to God again and again and again for strength, for clarity, for guidance. There were nights I cried out in loud prayer, shaky, unsure, desperate, and somehow I felt heard. And then I thought of my daughter, of all the dreams she hasn't even dreamed yet. Her future dances in my imagination, her first heartbreak, her graduation, the moment she finds her passion, her voice, her place in this world. I couldn't imagine those moments without me in them. I wouldn't let cancer write me out of her story. I realized I had two choices: let the diagnosis consume me or fight like hell to reclaim my life. So I chose to fight, not because I felt brave, but because I was not ready to leave my story, or hers or mine and my husband, unfinished. This time, I was braver. I opened up to a few more people, the ones I knew I could trust, the ones whose hands wouldn't let go no matter how dark it got. I also told my best friend. I poured everything out, every fear, every sleepless thought, every silent scream. I told her how in my head, I wanted to blurt out to the doctor like a scene from some Filipino film. Bakit? Diyos ka ba at madidikta mo ang buhay ko? And we laughed. We laughed the kind of laugh that cracks the heaviness for just a moment. The kind of laugh that feels like a rebellion against the darkness closing in. For the first time in weeks, I felt like a piece of myself came back. By August, I made the decision. I was going in for the operation, a total abdominal bilateral salpingo oophorectomy, or tabso. The name alone was heavy, clinical, final, but there was no other choice. It was the only fix. The cancer was still contained, held quietly within the walls of my endometrium, but the clock was ticking. If I waited too long, too late would mean the cancer had spread beyond what surgery alone could fix, and I couldn't let that happen. So I prepared the only way I knew how. I read everything: medical journey, medical journals, survival blogs, pamphlets. I watched YouTube videos of women who'd gone through it before me. Listen to their voices, their recovery, their whispered prayers from their hospital beds. Their stories became my armor. Because in their words, I found peace of my own fear. And in their healing, I saw the possibility of mine. In between medical appointments and emotional breakdowns, I also had to face the cold, heavy weight of the financial side. Surgeries aren't just physically draining, they drain your savings too. And in a world where health often comes with a price tag, that reality hit hard. I started calculating costs: hospital fees, surgeon fees, recovery expenses. It was overwhelming. Another expensive layer that I could have prepared for. But then, like a miracle wrapped in a friend's voice, my best friend said words I'll never forget. "Paopera ka na, ako bahala sa pera." My husband made a choice that also spoke louder than any words. He decided to sell his beloved big bike, the very thing that brought him freedom and joy, all for my operation. Even if it meant giving up the rides he loved most, he did not hesitate. I broke down again, but this time not from fear, but from relief. In that moment, I felt held, really held, because sometimes love doesn't show up in flowers or grand gestures. It shows up in bank transfers, silent sacrifices, and unconditional promises. Equipped with the faith I have in the Lord, my health insurance, my PhilHealth, life benefits, my PWD discount that I've gotten from the diagnosis, my best friend's generous bank transfer, my husband's sacrifice, I felt ready. The road ahead was unclear, terrifying, and heavy, but step by step, I started walking it. With every appointment, every test, every conversation, I began stitching myself back together. Just this September, I underwent TABSO, a total abdominal bilateral salpingo oophorectomy. It wasn't just an operation, it was letting go. They removed my uterus, my fallopian tubes, my cervix, my ovaries. With them went the possibility. A huge part of what makes me a woman was removed. The truth settled heavily in my chest, heavier than any surgical scar. The recovery was, and it still is, brutal. There is pain every day. My body, once mine, now feels unfamiliar. A landscape that changed overnight. And with the removal of my ovaries, I was thrust into forced menopause, or the surgical menopause. At 37, I am suddenly dealing with night sweats, hot flashes, mood swings, fatigue, symptoms I had never imagined facing this early in life. I knew it will come, but not that early. No one really prepares you for how deeply hormonal loss affects you, not just physically but emotionally. If you have read or listened this far, I want to be honest with you. Finding out about the diagnosis made me feel shattered. Sadness wrapped itself around me like a heavy cloak. I was grieving not just the illness, but the life I thought I would have. I felt oppressed by fear, doubt, and the weight of uncertainty, but I want to take you into a different direction. Remember perspective? Last July, I was diagnosed with endometrial cancer. Yes, it was terrifying. But the silver lining, if there's one, is it was found early. That's why I'm still here, scared, tired, but alive. Throughout my hospital stay, people showed up in many ways I never expected. Friends, colleagues, visits, calls, messages, meals, and prayers. And through it all, My husband's care never wavered. He became my anchor, gentle, patient, and unwavering, holding me through every pain and fear, reminding me I am not alone. Every day I remind myself of this truth. In losing so much, I also has have been given a chance to keep living.